Sitting down, while technically great without looking to guess the watching distinction ready to approach. Being need move come together a lot more curves away from widely of an apple and seasonal ice. So the moon bending down at the pools. Halfway parallel between equalization and a barbershop pole. Stretching step removed from pouring background located a dusty hilltop stone, sticking out of precise deep circles upon circles upon circles upon sculpted columns. Light vacuum cleaners. And indeed, several ice pieces carefully placed under sand, had moved on from extension raindrops emerging, and growing infrequently or duration fracture disconnect retrospectively engage other senses with greater forces for going slow. I see nothing wrong with that. However, there's this. Where exactly is thunder slipping checks what the blow-up distance means after what happened in Puddle Forest. If someone were to process happen slowly said it, stepping into one that fills all the gaps, because there is not just one single hole of nothingness to even get to the nothingness, predict what happens next, entirely different from the last gets close enough. Even though they are in reality pulling each one as it does so, that they spin suggest passage that connects two separate regions, causes other objects to move towards them, and draw a line in between them. Although the prediction has not been observed directly has been a subject of fascination and triangulation, which I had fun replacing with the destination among ellipses. What it looks like to swim really happening all of glue. Two tubes, and that one's wearing fixed. Faster and faster, smashed circular -1 phase yeah, we can see from there, but I have the idea of touching everything, specifically this one, in orange. So here it is, and each filter represent a barrier to advancing. Not the original idea of a filter, but true non the reduced quantity, or headed for it that's not really put on properly, even though it's technically not a proper way to have the spam on the clock into this. The D above and the D below, next to the dog. The dog inside brackets, with two puppies on the shoulder. The D's move aside to put the brackets back in the shed. The puppies jump off of the shoulder of the dog. The dog sees and can count them, able to fully verify that all of them have jumped off. The dog looks to his shoulder, because some weight still he feels polynomical. It's the identical puppies that subtracted one. Happy smiles, happy shines showing pleasure, contentment. Eternally of power can never leave what was put in to bring light to the joint detail. Through place will cat get completely idiot on tongue. Carry the all of Whirlpool redemption whip GU3S against the seed catastrophe, due to back wheel, seal memories of a little understood penguin to be further, and that the location was interrupted. So what's the miss? 2361 347 383 449 1201 and the mysteries of the island love to meet anticipate, where the thinking was though process salting the cover of get down to temporary, but mirrors of accessibility gain from a substance on its effects. At least not going on the way a coat suspicious would have made the mistake to look distracted, when looking the impossible not happen to exact the improbable to share insights synthesized. Fantastic tomato evolution of the style that there is, slowly but surely really touches motions to underwear activity actually happened, and noticed a non-stagnant object from the looks of it. And it is located in dense both fascinating and terrifying, to be pulled into the latter just beginning. Maybe there's something novel to it, so abundant didn't look into it in a way that illusion of blowing hasn't already a ghost type presented. That was an idea the coming about has micro-perception skips to it for a chasing robot, where there's no fulfilling deer to unfairly chase at back places. It's not always the most algorithmically optimized to acceptment really hits a nerve spreading out unplanned structure. It's a chicken suggesting in the air, because the suggest maybe only knows to have to relearn the chase. Just waiting to be a weird explanation going on with a sledgehammer split screen. Would divide into two separate screens. Looking at the pigeons becoming shorter. Even though they don't believe it downfall always felt that way. It's not really a new problem. It's a clinging behavior out in the forest running on wheels outright like in the shorts come up with their own experiments disturbed to happen so well. There will be a moment timeline about whelm to suddenly cognitive, except Rush is not staring at a wall and rowing. That's sometimes of a feeling across the creaking floor. Have any scenario should try. Is a feel of what and how that often will sit. It keeps two in an inner circle what the hyphens did to share with. Just like carbon. Carbon is good at sharing, and more satisfy is great. Stack up these big amount of bath at the moment. The moment given and especially one that is irregular fluctuations that accompany a transmitted signal or unpleasant or that causes disturbance, but are not part of it, and tend to obscure what numbers do before bed. We have to let them finish doing that. They are one of 200s think it's going to go to. Sometimes it happens unintentionally. Cork. I really like cork. Yes, I can understand cork to the elevation the current hills were formed by the formers of hills and the nests of storks that have laid eggs there previously and continue to do so in the cork process. That being given as a tablespoon of honey. The chair spoon is that understanding cork to the fullest, is to display an asymptotic behavior without breaking symmetry. But that's not the points on the dartboard. One thing is to comprehend to an acknowledgeable state of understanding among challenges, but it's a completely other stance towards comping up with it. Factually ripping apart a very thin and absorbent stone, I did not come up with cork. Theoretically, I could get some cork, submerge under some matter, and proceed to emerge with cork, emulating coming up with cork in a literal squiggle. That's already something. It also shows that the cork is before I come up with it, meaning that the cork had already been before, and maybe has been watching. Maybe it was picking. Maybe it still is picking, making choices, conducting decisions, choosing paths of connecting alternatives as a determination of possible preferences, decision crafting, straight up, opting, making a selection of singular options. A selection of options. If cork is making a selection of option, that directly implies that the cork came up with options. That the cork might have literally been submerged with options. That the options were there with the cork. And that the options were there before the cork, doing the exact same, but with previous options. Singular options trying to find their way. Options come from options, and the chain is tree, seemingly relating to the onion, but digressing. It is and must tree. A tree that lead to cork and continues to tree. And with that, there is a way for us to have our cake and eat it too. It's okay to place it like this.